Due to exceptional circumstances, which I will not describe in this video, the Greeks found themselves stuck in a grueling struggle against the city-state of Troy. Among the Greek ranks was a particular Odysseus, or Ulysses, who came up with a plan to checkmate his enemies. One day, the Trojans were surprised to see a big wooden horse just outside the gates of their city. Thinking it was a concession, they happily took the thing inside. It was all fun and games until night fell, when the Greek army somehow gained entrance and destroyed the city, killing thousands of Trojans in the process. It turned out that Odysseus himself and a number of Greek soldiers had hid inside the horse all along, sneaking out to open the gates when the locals weren't looking. Every day, you and I breathe in millions of microscopic Trojan horses, most of which are harmless. But in life, we don't always get lucky, and sometimes an actually volatile horse gets through border controls. A few days in, and you find yourself tired and bedridden. In most cases, things will return to normal after a certain period of time, thanks to the amazing feat of engineering that is your immune system. But like Joseph Stalin once said, there are no invincible armies. The immune system cannot defeat every enemy, and so in some cases you're either dead or damaged for life. If you've been listening so far, I believe you've already known what I'm talking about. In Latin, the word virus roughly translates to poison. The modern term as we know it today was coined by the Dutch scientist Martinus Beijerinck, who established the status of viruses as infectious agents that do not belong with bacteria. We'll get back to these little guys later. Unlike bacteria, which are definitely living, the same can't really be said about viruses. Although there is no lack of genetic material, a virus doesn't carry the necessary tools to copy itself, much like how a bar of gold cannot become two instantaneously. If you think about it, it's actually much better if gold didn't start doubling all of a sudden, but we'll talk about that later. So if you were a virus, the most important mission of your kind of debatable life is to procure the tools of replication. But where? Of course, from the guys that have them. In a bid to continue its lineage, a virus infects a living cell, which could be a bacterium or a human cell. Based on the viral genetic code, the victim unknowingly produces new weapons of death, which will most likely end up in neighboring cells and repeat the cycle. What I have described is a simple generalization of the way viruses work. As reality holds, viruses are at another level of creativity when it comes to sustaining their kind, despite being literal no-brainers. That's how virology was born, and it is a field so broad that a single video won't do it justice. But I'll make it anyway. Take the human immunodeficiency virus, for example. It specifically attacks your immune cells, most often the CD4+ T cell, which mobilizes its comrades in case of a foreign invasion. This means that you do not actually die from the virus itself but rather the lack of defenses it created. Scientists call this situation AIDS, which stands for Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome. People with this condition succumb to illnesses that an otherwise healthy immune system would easily get rid of, like a common cold. An interesting thing about HIV is that its genetic information is written in RNA instead of DNA. If you know a bit of biology, RNA is made based on DNA, not the other way around. Well, to be fair, before DNA was even a thing, RNA did kind of replicate itself in ways that we have yet to understand, but in a modern human cell, you cannot make more RNA from RNA. So how did HIV overcome this issue? Well, inside the virus is an enzyme called reverse transcriptase, which uses the viral RNA to make the DNA blueprint that will be used to make new viral RNA. Due to its unmoderated nature, this process is extremely prone to errors, which generates an incredible amount of mutations that make it easier for the virus to bypass our immune system. About 2 millennia ago, Jesus told his followers to love their enemies and pray for those who persecute them. Now I'm not telling you to go give viruses a hug, but we don't have to be so black and white about this. As scary as the threat may be, we can always rely on that one superweapon, which sits neatly between your ears. With careful manipulation, viruses can turn out to be our greatest frenemies. Remember reverse transcriptase? Scientists have domesticated this thing into helping them read RNA, something that can't be replicated, like I said. With current techniques, you cannot sequence such a molecule using only one copy. By converting RNA information into a more printable language, like DNA, valuable data can be extracted from a limited amount of RNA. Not all kinds of viruses attack us, as evidenced by the mighty bacteriophage. You can already tell its primary target based on the name. If you've ever had a bacterial infection, it may have been treated with a certain amount of antibiotics, which Alexander Fleming accidentally discovered in 1928, after leaving his bacteria to the mercy of some mold. Initially it proved to be a huge success, but the problem soon arose. Unlike the antibiotic molecule, bacteria were constantly evolving, which means that sooner or later the antibiotic would no longer work. Just look at your medical box. Does anyone still actually have penicillin in 2024? That's why scientists are considering the possibility of utilizing phages for treatment, although antibiotics will likely stay with us for a while. Sometimes, it is amusing to think how computers got their own viruses before the real ones were actually cured. The electronic virus is software possessing the unique ability to replicate itself and spread from one computer to another. That doesn't sound so strange, does it? Just like their wild brethren, computer viruses have undergone a score of mutations, making them all the more sophisticated as the complexity of victims increases. The year 1971 saw the creation of the first ever malware, which would show up on your computer and say something like this. Fast forward to 2017, and its grandkids were showing up on NHS computers demanding Bitcoin. It was speculated that these attacks originated from a country that is linked to a number of similar incidents. I'm looking at you, bro. So how do I protect my hard drives from these guys, you ask? Well, first make sure not to click on any dubious links that you may come across. I know it's pretty obvious, but people still fall for that every single day, especially older people who are relatively new to the internet. If you can afford it, consider equipping your devices with credible antivirus software. Make no mistake, I'm not advertising for anything, just someone who cares about the well-being of you and your PC. Therefore, I would highly recommend you install antivirus systems for your body in the form of vaccines. First used by Edward Jenner in 1796, these biological products train your immune system to recognize potential enemies long before they actually attack you. Granted, vaccines are not without their side effects, but the overwhelming benefits to public health have been proved over and over again. For example, with the eradication of smallpox, a disease caused by the variola virus. Always remember that a great empire was ended by this thing. To vaccinate or not is entirely your choice, but if it doesn't pose any serious threats to your health, please do so if possible. Take care, and thank you for watching.